Welcome to my daily review. Today is Thursday, June 5, and the Nasdaq, oops, excuse me. You're looking at a daily chart of the S&P 500 today. I thought I would switch it up a little bit and try to throw a curveball at you. And anyway, I just brought up the S&P because folks were making a big deal that it was rejected there at 6,000 today, and this is all very short term, right? You could see the 599 nine. How many nines there? Three nines and 70, okay? 5,999.70. And then got rejected, closed lower, 939, 60 points lower. So, it was unfortunate today. The markets were doing pretty well. And then, there was there you go. It was rallying hard there up to the 5,999.7. And then pretty much everything that I saw on my screens were just selling off into the close, due to the unfortunate spat with Elon Musk and the President Trump. So it just kind of fell apart today. But I will say the Nasdaq, which is, my go-to index, it's still up for the week, and today it fell 162 points, 0.83%, closed at 19,298, 3% below the 50-day average volume. Now, tomorrow we have the non-farm payrolls data. So this data point is going to, there's usually caution ahead of this thing. And what the market's hoping for is a weak jobs number. I mean, I think if we're long the market, we're looking for a weaker jobs number. Obviously, we don't want to see people out of work. But for the market's sake, I think it wants a weaker number so they can get, closer to their interest rate cuts, which is eventually what, the administration wants is their interest rate cut. We all want lower interest rates. So the inflation data shows that it's calming down. And if the jobs numbers are weak and unemployment's rising, then maybe they will be more inclined to lower interest rates. So that would be kind of nice. You know, I think the people in the housing markets would love some lower rates, but anyway, I digress. I just wanted to point out that the Nasdaq is up for the week, nearly 1%, 184 points. Still in a clear uptrend. I know people were so mad today that the markets, it's too tough, it's so negative. I just have to laugh. If you're in the right stocks, if you take a look at that list that I show every morning, and if you're in some of those stocks, you're doing fine. Now, if you're in OKLO or some of the other ones, you might not be doing as well because OKLO's had a hard time. But there's a lot of them in there that are still doing well, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. And this is why, it's a stock picker's market. It's always a stock picker's market. Very rarely do you have a market where everything is going higher. So that's why I focus on leading stocks. I'm not going to really pay attention to the losers and the laggards. I want winners, as Mike Singletary said. I want winners. I'm going to get to that in a minute, but I just have to point out, the Nasdaq obviously went down with the feud with Trump and Musk today, and Tesla really got hit hard when they started really feuding. Right about here, Trump uses True Social and Musk uses X, formerly Twitter, and they're just going back and forth. And this is when it started. It just went down all day. I thought the market was going to sell off anyway because of the jobs data tomorrow, and it's had a pretty good week all week, so it stands to reason, or it's practical or logical to expect some profit taking ahead of the new data point there. And you can see Tesla is still selling off after hours. But yeah, I had a rough day today. Tesla, down to the 50, it sliced the 50 there. 291 is the 50, it's 281 after hours. So if I was Elon, I would just cool out and just, do my job at Tesla and run your businesses and forget the politics. I always say, man, politics is just, it's not a place for your investments, man. It just never works out. Never has. I had some friends today who just threw in the towel, said, I'm done with Tesla. It's too hard. And I get it. You get frustrated and you do emotional things in the stock market. So, they'll probably be back buying it tomorrow. But yeah, Tesla rough day. And whenever you see, something go down that hard, 14% for Tesla, some of the other, collateral damage here was NVIDIA, and it's down after hours too. I've got some more information there I'll share later on. Apple, down. So when these big companies are down 1%, it's going to drag the indexes down. And I think it had pretty much the same, profile there on the 5-minute chart. Yeah, I had a nice little rally going in today up near 205 and then sold off, closed at 200. Yeah, it's just a rough day. It's just really unfortunate that grown men have to act this way with such power, grown men with such power, just it's kind of sad. Anyway, I don't want to talk, politics. It's just always, it's never worked out well for me. So I just stay away from what I've learned. It's like, burning your finger on the stove. How many times you have to do that before you stop doing it? Anyway, let me see. What do I have here? Yeah. Well, yeah, stocks traded well, and till that feud came. But I thought that it was going to sell off anyway into the close due to the jobs data. I want to get to some of the earnings report last night. MongoDB reported, and it was rallying hard too. And then unfortunately, kind of like everything else, just sold off into the close, but still had a nice, nearly 13% gain today. So that one worked out well. I thought it would carry some of the software names. We get some pin action there, and this is VRNT closed at the lows of this session. Sheesh, from 22 to 18. That's not good. I mean, it's okay. I mean, it was still up 2.5%, but it's just a lot of stocks did that today. Just everyone that I was watching just sold off into the close. This is a five below. I used to call it lookout below, but they've kind of doing a lot better now. Today, once again, rallied up at the open and just sold off into the close. Yeah, it's doing better. I mean, it was 52 not long ago. Now it's at 128. So yeah, it's had a nice run for five below. Who else reported PVH? This is the old Philip Van Heusen PVH. And they were down 17%. I reported this morning that what the CEO had to say about tariffs going forward, and it doesn't look good for that company. WGO, this is Winnebago. Yeah, mobile homes or, these motor homes that people drive. I guess business not so great. Down 6%. This morning, yeah, Sienna, another one that reported, it's wow, sold off 13%. So that's a networking company. Yeah, not doing so good, huh? Fiber optics for CNN, not so hot. CBRL, this is a restaurant. Cracker Barrel, man, that one sold off 7% too. So yeah, pretty rough. And then BFB, this is the alcoholic beverage, Jack Daniels, and yeah, down 18%. People aren't drinking booze as much as they used to, but this one really hit the the one that Buffett bought recently, Constellations, and it bled into some of the other not only just the beverages, but some of the retail stocks, and I'll get there in a minute. But I want I want to start off with something positive here. And if you were paying attention this morning during the well, I had this one on the ready list, but the commodities, man, gold and copper and silver are really having a good week this week. That usually means, that it's usually defensive, and that usually means that your growth stocks are going to pull back. That's kind of what they did. But this is Anglo Gold Ashanti. This is on our top 25 stocks that I post every morning. Near that, buy point there. I just liked it above, yesterday's high. I think I put I don't know what it was, 48.30. I forget what I had. 46.30. I forgot what I had for a buy point. It's around here somewhere, but I'm not going to hunt it down. Anyway, that one had a good day. WPM is one I had on the ready list all weeks. Had a good week. Yeah, if you're in it, it's up 5.5%. So, it's a defensive name and it doesn't have that, real volatility to it. Even though, it did this, it's kind of same thing, everything else. It just kind of sold off into the close after a nice open. And then Agnico Eagle, yeah, just still forming the base here, and maybe food for thought for next week there as it maybe forms a handle. Anyway, it's still above its five, looks pretty good, and a couple others in the silver and gold and copper play. This is Orla. This is a Canadian miner up at 8% today, man. Nice move for Orla. That one made a new high. PAAS is a silver mineral. Yeah, silver and other minerals. In Mexico, Canadian Exploration silver metals in Mexico, huh? Anyway, up 8%. So the commodities were strong today. SSRM, I got to be honest with you, I'm not really familiar with a lot of them. I'm out of my element here, but I know strength when I see it. So, this thing's making new highs. So yeah, I mean, they had good days, and obviously they've been making new highs. They've been having quite a few good days, right? And that's El Dorado Gold Ego. And usually when stocks make new highs, they continue to make more and more and more new highs. So that's just why I'm pointing it out, the strength. All right, I've got to get to the one that I put on the ready list besides AU this morning. This is NBIS, Nebius Group. This one had some data this morning that I guess their products that they announced, I guess they're performed better than the CoreWeave products. So this is still, but even though it was up, 17.5%, it still sold off into the close. This thing was up like 24, 25% and sold off, sharply into the close. Just, caution ahead of the jobs data tomorrow. I mentioned CoreWeave had to sell this one. And that's, you got to be nimble here with these things. Nothing, all it did was kind of pull back to its five here. And you can see that it's pulled back, in the past, pull back a couple of days and then, find support and bounces. I think it'll still do that. I would rather have it do this and pull back to a moving average and gap higher than trade up to like 180 because then you kind of know that the move is over. And so with this pullback, it's healthy. Just a few days ago, I wanted to point out some folks were asking me about this. What was it? Friday, it was what, 104? And then just last Thursday, a week ago, yeah, 105. So yeah, it's still up 30 points, this week, 21%. So yeah, even though it did pull back today, I mean, you just got to keep things in perspective. And if you're trying to trade in and out like I am with something like this, then you got to be nimble and just, you can't let a profit turn into a loss. And you certainly can't take a big loss because, 17%, if you're trying to buy today and hold on to that, I would advise against it. We can't take big losses. 5% is the max, because if you could sustain a few 5% losses if you have, you know, a big gain in something like, Roblox. Have you been holding this one for a while? Yeah, I mean, you're probably up 50% in this one, or 30 or 40%. So that affords some 5% losses. Roblox has been fantastic. Made another new high today, up after hours. Okay, so a couple of other software names here that I can get to besides CoreWeave. This is AppLovin. I believe this one's going into the S&P 500 index. It'll be announced tomorrow after the close. Usually it's even after the aftermarket closes, which is 8 o'clock Eastern time, because they don't want any shenanigans going on. I think it's like it'd probably be 8:15 in the East Coast, 5:15 in the West Coast, that they'll announce that. There's a lot of other ones that are, possibly going in. One is Robinhood, although I don't think Robinhood's going to get in, but who knows? Well, some people know. I don't know. But Robinhood, made another 52-week high today. Looks fantastic. There's some folks that thinks LNG is getting in. They only had monthly options, and just this week they started weekly options. So that could be a tell that LNG is going to get in. There's some other one. What is it? Interactive Broker. There's speculation that Interactive Broker, or is it IBKR, might get in. So anyway, it's just a guessing game. And I want to get back to the software group. I digress. Whoever gets into the S&P, yeah, there'll probably be some forced buying and it'll go up for a little bit, but that's no reason to buy a stock. All right. Got to get to Palantir here today. This is one that I've had on my ready list this week and for a while, and it's just kind of been floundering around. I made that high of 133, and just yesterday or the day before, we made another high on the third, which was Tuesday, 135. Yesterday was up to 133, and today just pulled back and closed below the 21 there. You can see the 21 is 123.09. This is screwed up here. Yeah, it's not 6% above it because it closed at 119. I mean, you can see that it closed below. You can see that it closed below this magenta line, which is the 21. This, yeah, market surge is screwed up. Maybe it has last night's data on there. But anyway, still selling off after hours. Palantir, yeah, had a rough day. And, same thing, it was with these large cap tech stocks. Once that feud started going on, all hell broke loose, man. And a lot of these large cap tech stocks sold off. And there's Palantir. There you can see the break midday when they started tweeting at each other. And yeah, it was just kind of a rough, messy day. You'd expect better out of grown-ups. Um, but it's not the only one. There was some really nice action here today in net. I was, we had this on the ready list either last week or the week before because it was up, during that week when the Nasdaq was down 2.5%. And this thing just like Aerosmith saying, like train kept a rolling, right? It's just cruising and off that five here. And today popped above 180 and then sold off like everything else. I mean, this is the profile like all my stocks today. Yippee, we're rolling, we're doing great. And then all of a sudden you go out, run a couple errands, you look around, you go, oh man, that fell apart quickly. And that's just the way it goes in the market. Stocks go up and down, folks, believe it or not. All right, Team is another software name. Had a decent day. I think we got some pen action maybe from MDB. But once again, this was really ripping higher and then kind of fell off after the spat, the feud, the big feud. And then Domo. Domo is another one, software name making new highs. This one's showing incredible strength. Yeah, I've made a new high there. Let's take a look at this on the weekly. Domo. Yeah, nice breakout of this stage one base. That looks fantastic. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, you'd probably be late buying here. And, gotta wait for a pullback there to the five, but it's certainly finding support at that five. It's amazing how these leading stocks are, finding support at the five. All right, that's it for the software names. After I lied, I'm just going to throw this one in there. It's a finance credit card payment stock. This is Sezzle, had trouble with 100. Now it's at 123, even though on a 5-minute chart. This one was really ripping hard. Then it sold off into the close as well, like everything else. I sound like a broken record. All right, I'm going to move on because there's some other leading stocks that are on my, that group of stocks that I post every morning. I know they change and you got to, some fall off that you don't want to own and some continue to rip like a Zscaler here, right there at that 300 level, just butting its head up against there. And this is just short-term resistance. I believe, once this green line catches up there, it's going to be able to power through that 300 level. CrowdStrike, they reported not such a great day yesterday, but just pulled back to the 21 and had an inside day. And no surprise here. I expect CrowdStrike to be bought. And it's just the people want to own CrowdStrike. That's that's all there is to it. I mean, there's buyers and sellers in the market, and there's a lot of buyers for CrowdStrike. So their stock is in demand. Came down one day, and that was your opportunity to get in at the 21. Palo Alto had this one on the ready list. It was having a good day, but like everything else, it just pulled back, got up near that 200 level and just pulled back a little bit. I expect maybe the cybersecurity stocks to have a good day tomorrow. Let me get to that in a minute. But yeah, the cybersecurity names looking pretty good. I'm going to move on from that to some of the stocks that I haven't talked about for a while. These medical product stock, TMDX, man, this is one that, gapped up, waited for that moving average, maybe about a week to catch up to it. Now it's just surfing that five. Today popped a little bit, closed near the highs of the session. So that's a rare bird right there. If we get a weak jobs number tomorrow, and if the market rallies tomorrow, which I think is a good possibility, yeah, TMDX is looking really strong. LFMD is another one in the medical space. They got that deal with Novo Nordisk. It really propelled this stock here back the end of April. I guess that deal was announced with HIMSS and yeah, LFMD, LifeMD. And the other one in this area is Viva Systems. They reported recently, gapped higher and just kind of, stalled out for a week, and now it's cruising higher. Kind of waited for that five to catch up, made a new high today. So Viva Systems looks fantastic. The only reason why it's not on our top stock list is because of the RS rating's only 93, and that's kind of a time lag right there because I think it's a 3-month rating. And so, yeah, if you're doing 1 month, this thing would definitely be above the 95, 96 level that I typically look for. All right, I'm going to move on from the medical product group, and I got to get a little negative here. Costco, they said they were going to eat the tariffs. I guess that's going to cut into margins. What was it, down nearly 4% today, $40. So give all that back from the earnings report. So yeah, not real positive for Costco and then Walmart. Some of the larger, big box stores here down 1.5%. Just pulled back to the 21. Some other names in the retail space, some smaller names. I like the smaller stocks. This is oddity, just allowing the five to catch up. It's had a nice week, and then today pulled back what 20.23%. Yeah, yeah, it's up nearly 4% this week. So oddity, very nice. Yeah, 18 cents. It was down 18 cents today. We got to sell it. It's getting crushed. Um, anyway, SE. This is one that's on our list. If you don't own it, wait till it pulls back to the five. Another one, up 1.3% today. Another nice day, with the closing range once again, is ripping higher. And then all of a sudden, like everything else, got to sell off into the close. Oh, and CPNG. This is this Druckenmiller stock. This thing's just been surfing its five, a thing of beauty right here. I should talk about this thing more, but I don't. I don't know why, but the Korean online retail platform, it's doing great. So anyway, that's it for the retail space, except for I lied. I've got to get to the retail restaurant group, which is starting to look a little better here. This is Brinker had this massive run, then sold off when everybody gives up on it. Oh, it sucks. It's terrible. It's horrible. Who could own this piece of junk? And then all of a sudden, it broke above this downtrend line, and it's been pretty strong ever since right there in that day, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And now it's just surfing its five. Today it undercut the five, down 2.5%, but Brinker still looks pretty good to me. The Shake Shack, I've never been to the Shack, but this one's forming a little ledge here as the five catches up. That one's looking pretty good. Cake, I think I mentioned Cake yesterday. Yeah, it made a new high. Yeah, the cake looks pretty good. Then Bros was breaking out today. Looked like, it was only up 1%, but it was really, ramping hard. And then, yeah, then we got the Trump Musk dispute. I don't know, just everything just sold off. I don't know why that would have anything to do with it, but they presented Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I listened to Tuesday. I listened to Thursday today for a little bit, and yeah, they're making the rounds. They're doing the PR bit, and yeah, I mean, this was up with volume, power through the pivot, looked pretty good. But for me, and I don't really care if it goes up or down short term because. And the weekly, a nice cup with handle. Looks like it's going to move higher. And then on the monthly, I just think 12 to 36 months out, you're going to have, it's going to be a lot higher than where it is now. So that's my story on Dutch Bros. I like Bros and Hood, and I'm going to get to some others here. GE going to defense. When the market gets defensive, you got to go to defense. GE, man, just surfing the five. Geez, just a powerhouse. These are all look good. This one's on our ready list here. The reason why GE isn't is because it's got the volume. The RS rating's only 94, but you could see that's why it's a delayed rating. And I really should go lower rating and more volume. You get the bigger stocks, but I don't want to. Yeah, I like GE. How about that? Helmet. I think I mention this one every day. Yeah, obviously one that's been on our list, and you can see just the tight trading. This is what you want, just a nice, quiet, tight trading stock. Nobody talks about it. It just goes up and up and up. Nobody talks about Helmet. And it's just been on the list for a long time since this rally has been ongoing. Helmet's been one of our leaders. KTOS, same thing. It's just been on the list for a long time, just surfing the five. These things look fantastic. To me, AXON made a new high today. And I believe this one's on our list. I'm not sure. It should be. Oh, it doesn't get the volume here. Okay, I got it. Well, I got to do dollar volume because it's nearly an $800 stock. Okay, I got to change your criteria. Let me write that down. Dollar volume tonight because 97 rating with that, you know, that type of move. This is a leading stock for sure. All right. I'm going to get out of the defensive names and go to the energy names. I was expecting this to bounce today, off the five, and it did. It started to, and then, it sold off like everything else. But, I wouldn't give up on it. I know, um, it's down 2 days in a row and people get frustrated, but they're not going to go up every day, folks. And, still up 2.5% this week. And you can see this nice cup shape pattern, just a super strong stock. This is one that's on our relative strength list as well. It's got that 98 rating. Some others in the group, I believe, BST is, yeah, 96 with the volume. I believe this one qualifies. Pulled back to the five today. So let's see a bounce tomorrow off the five. How about that, folks? We need a bounce. Um, yeah, I'm done with the negativity. I cannot talk to folks who are just so negative on the market when it goes down a couple of days. Geez, it only went down one day. This OKLO was down. I screwed this one up. I put it on the ready list. I thought it would pull back to the five and bounce, and it looked like it was going to. It was that Monday or Tuesday, and it was really started to ramp, getting people excited up to 58.69. But yeah, it sold off 6 days in a row here with plenty of volume. So yeah. That's thumbs down for me on that one. And that happens in the market. I just misread that one. SMR, same thing, just kind of selling off these nuclear stocks. Big news and then sell off. So, all right, that's just the way it goes in the market. All right, I'm going to move on from the energy names. GEV is the one that I like in the group. I think it's the leader. And, I don't want to really get into these ones like, man, this one. Yeah, it had big news with Meta, and then sold off down to the 21 today. It's Constellation Energy, not Constellation Beverages, what Buffett bought. This Constellation Energy, nuclear energy. All right, I'm going to go to the biotech drug stocks, and this is BBIO, kind of speculative stock, but got the double bottom base, pull back, undercut the 50, now rallied and is back near that buy point. I kind of like this name, although it is highly speculative. Doesn't have the sales and earnings growth. Heck, it's losing money. It's got a market cap of 7.2 billion. Yeah, there's your cash flow negative $3.45. But yeah, just technically it looks pretty strong. TGTX, this is one with cash flow. This is one with earnings and sales growth. And it's starting to respond. The CEO spoke at a conference yesterday, said a bunch of nice things that, he was really subdued. He just kind of matter of factly said, we're going to be number one in the RMS space, and that right now Roche is number one at about 6.5 billion in sales. And he said they're going to get there fairly quickly. He said they're buying back their stock nearly every day. They have a bunch of money in the stock buyback program. He did say that they're going to spend less money on advertising in his TV commercials. And so revenues are going to outpace expenses, which is always music to Wall Street's ears. So they've got the revenue growth. It's just how he manages it. He's more interested in sales than earnings because they're going to use some of that revenue to fund these trials so they can expand their drug. So anyway, TGTX, just technically it traded through the 50 today with power. So that's kind of a nice move for TG Therapeutics, 6% move, flat after hours there at 39.30. I wouldn't be surprised. This has been about 5 weeks since the sell-off from the earnings, buy the rumor, sell the news. Now it comes in forms of base. Been about 5 weeks. Probably keep building this out for a couple more weeks. But yeah, it looks much better. ALNY. Uh, why? Oh yeah, look at this, man. Look at the weekly. Nice little base here, man. This thing's straight up from the bottom. maybe a couple of days to handle out here. And that's what it's doing. Yeah, that one looks good. I'm not going to put it on the ready list tomorrow, but that one's shaping up. It's just been so tough for the drug stocks this year, the XBI. I mean, if I did it's down 12.5% in the last year. And if I just go to 2025, yeah, just 8% this year, man. Whew. So it's way underperforming the indexes. Yeah, it's been a tough go in the drug names. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up. Except in honor of the great Steve Jobs, I have one more thing. You stay hungry, you stay foolish, you stay humbled. Because if you're not humble and you start bragging about your gains in the morning, like I saw some people doing, then all of a sudden your stock sells off. It goes from 10% up to 10% down. Then you look kind of stupid. So, sell those spikes, right? But anyway, stay humble. And one more thing, I have some earnings tonight. We've got Lululemon selling up. Not surprised here. Lululemon has a bunch of competition. In fact, I just went to the Viore store the other day. My wife and I bought some shorts. They are really nice shorts. It's a private company, but I think they're going to go public as long as, the market, is cooperative and, stays fairly healthy. I think we're going to see some more companies IPO. And Vuori could be one. They make some really fantastic stuff. And there's other companies there. I just think Lululemon has too much competition. I see, the ladies in the gym used to always wear Lululemon, and now you're seeing, them wearing some other type of, casual wear, I should say, athletic wear. It's athletic and casual. All right. Anyway, Lulu, that's going to hurt the retail space, stuff like Nike, yeah, down after hours and Crocs and that group, yeah, that's going to hurt that group. Lulu's a big player in the group, and with it being down that much, I mean, this is a massive haircut here after hours, 22%. That is just ugly. I did not listen to the report, but obviously, I saw the headline numbers, but they must have said something in the conference call about tariffs. It's a Canadian company. So yeah, ooh, man, that's a heck of a haircut. Do not try to catch that falling knife. It's going to be slicing all these moving averages tomorrow back to this 250 level here. So yeah, stay away, avoid. All right, so I've got to get to the big kahuna after hours. It was Broadcom. I saw the report and I thought it was pretty decent. They beat by a penny. They raised just a little, it's very well managed. So it's down 3%. I doubt if it goes down too much tomorrow. Here by that old buy point there, that pivot of 251.88. It wouldn't surprise me to see it trade down there. The 5 is 254. So maybe it trades down to the 10 or something. We'll see. I think it's kind of like a crowd strike. It's not going to sell off for too long. A lot of buyers and a lot of interest. And the report, was pretty decent. All right. The one that I was interested in, the one that I have in my retirement account, I expect this one to sell off. Rubric, good report, but look at this thing. This is why you don't want to really get long. There's no base here for it to pop out of, right? It hasn't sold off. It's just been going up and up and up and up. So what happens when you get the new data point? There's just profit takers. So let it come in a little bit. Maybe pull back to the 10, maybe even the 21. Yeah, 90. I don't know. But yeah, it was a good report. They're taking market share is the big deal here, raising forward guidance. And even if they're conservative, they're still raising forward guidance. And this is why this is why I just put it in the retirement account, just forget about it. With Dutch Bros and Robinhood and TG Therapeutics and some of the ones that I think are just going to be in Robinhood. Yeah, just ones that I think are going to take market share and grow over time. So I don't really care if it trades down to 90 tomorrow, or it trades up to 110. Either way, I just got it for longer term. And it's just a baby. It just came to market, IPO'd, ran up hard, and then pulled back and double bottom like a lot of stocks. And it's just been, how many weeks in a row has it been up? 3, 4, 5, like 10 weeks in a row. So you got to expect it to come back, at some point. All right. Rubric is fine. IoT is not. Samsara, oof, massive haircut. Not as bad as Lululemon, but still, 11% haircut after hours. No bueno. DocuSign, they had a decent report, but man, 16% sell off. I don't know what they said in the call. Maybe the forward guidance, I don't know. But that is a massive haircut. TTAN Titans, Service Titan, another IPO, had the double bottom, ran up nicely, and then whoops, it's going to get the old okey doke tomorrow, down 12% after hours, and it's going to take it back, to that 100 level here. So that's the way it goes in the stock market, folks. And that's why you got to manage your risk around earnings. It's nice when they go up like MDB, but a lot of times they don't. You have to manage that risk. What else do we have? Oh, WOOF. I just had to throw WOOF in here. Uh, Petco, $3 stock, down 10% after hours. Maybe Chewy. Chewy's chewing into its market share. Yeah, Chewy's one of the leading stocks on that list. So I'm going to post that list tomorrow morning. Pay attention to that list. It's very important. That's where our leading stocks are. That's the pond that we want to fish in. And those are the stocks I want to own, the leading stocks. I'm going to change your criteria a little bit tonight. So definitely take a look at that tomorrow. I doubt if I'm going to have any new stocks on the ready list. Just going to let the jobs number come out. I'm going to post early tomorrow because I'm going to be traveling in the morning. Head at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up. Thank you for watching.